Hey, this is Steven Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Platinum versus AEW Dynamite from the January 27th, 2021 show. Sorry if I'm talking a little louder into the microphone as usual. I am doing laundry and it is in the spin cycle. And I also need to mute this Hector Macho Camacho documentary. It is very good, by the way. What are my overall impressions of this show? Okay, I'm just making sure it's actually recording my voice. It is. Simple. Last week's show was a fucking disaster. Too much going on in every segment. No consistent flow to the show whatsoever. Nothing that drew you towards the end. Just a lot being thrown at you. Seemingly reckless breakneck pace. And worse, very similar feels and vibes, not in a flow way, but I mean literally the same finish being done again and again and again. Just garbage, just terrible. This show definitely back on track a little bit. The big push was for Beach Break next week. You didn't have one half of the show promoting the other half of the show. You didn't have three things trying to be done in every segment. They do have problems, though. I'm going to just lay those out here at the beginning before I go through the show. The biggest, most glaring problem is Hikaru Shida. They have nothing for her. Everything is more interesting in other parts of the women's division, and they're still in this pattern of doing nothing with her and then trying to manufacture a feud out of whole cloth. You just don't hear from, I mean, they have a bunch of women's matches on Dark, fine, but nothing else is going on. Then you have this announcement about, and we're going to have this big tournament, and it's the return of Riho against Serena Deeb, and just ideas get thrown out, but nothing is given a weight or importance. The only thing that has a weight or importance in their entire women's division, and keep in mind, how many women do they have on staff, is Britt Baker against Thunder Rosa, and it's hard to see that parlaying into anything else. And then you also have a thing with Jade and now Red Velvet, I suppose. I guess, but that was another segment that, again, it's just hard to gather. They just seem to be afraid to commit to anything. Last week, you had Darby and Sting sort of implying that they might do the street fight, and now you get this idea that, oh no, it's really happening and it's going to happen on the pay-per-view. Oh, okay. And then you get this idea that maybe you're having a fight between Shaq and Cody, and then it's maybe it's Shaq and Jade against Cody and Brandy. Well, no, maybe it's with Red Velvet. Again, it's hard to sell a fight when you don't know if the fight is happening or if the participants really want it to happen. And that's something AEW's got to learn. We need a commitment, and we need it to look like something other than, I mean, the Shaq promo was what it was going to be, which was a famous person doing what they think pro wrestlers do. And the problem is they don't have a great foundation, you know. But again, AEW is the way more interesting experiment because it feels like something that's really manifesting in something well when they do a good show. This week was about getting back to brass tacks and doing a good show again, a solid show again, and they most certainly accomplished that. We open hot, Eddie Kingston against Lance Archer. It's exactly the match that it should be. They're bouncing each other around. Eddie Kingston's being sly, being smart, but then he finally gets caught. Right? Butcher and Blade coming out with a beat-up Jake. Now, again, this is great if they have consequences and some kind of follow-up to we beat down Jake. That should be a big thing. That should be a really terrible thing. We'll see if they follow that up. In the end, Eddie Kingston manages to win by virtue of this distraction. And then they really put the beat down on Lance Archer. All right. We set up the thing for tonight. Main event is the Bucks and the Good Brothers against the Dark Order. Cody's going to respond to Shaq. We're going to have Dax versus Jungle Boy, which, I mean, it's obvious what that match is going to be, which is it's the match that's supposed to signal a bit of a star turn for Jungle Boy. And it's very exciting to see that happening, by the way. They're doing a great job. AEW is doing a better job than anybody in bringing people up to the next stage. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're like main eventers. It means moving them to the next stage in your mind. And it's vital that they do it, and they're doing it. Britt Baker against Shanna. Jericho and MJF against the Varsity Blondes. Right? We're going to have the brother of Dolph Ziggler wrestling against Adam Page. And then they set up the March 7th, it's now March 7th pay-per-view. All right. Moxley gives a really good promo. Again, you have an Eddie Kingston-Lance Archer match where some stuff goes on and you set up things for the future. You run down the card, and then you have this idea of the March 7th pay-per-view as well as the Beach Break show. I mean, they do a good job of keeping the balls in the air, and they're not doing too much per segment. Moxley, really good promo. I'm a simple guy. I like that he's the sort of his own Mercutio. What does that mean, Steve? All right, I had this thing called the Mercutio factor. Romeo and Juliet, on the surface, is a really sappy, dumb story in a lot of ways. But the reason it's a classic, big reason for that, is Mercutio. The character Mercutio constantly calls things out. Isn't this too sappy? And this feels like it wouldn't make sense, and blah, blah, blah. By him calling things out a little bit, it allows the audience to relax. Okay, they've noticed. And because Mercutio has pointed it out, we're going to allow them to continue to tell this story and we, the audience, have an open mind because some potential problems have been addressed by Mercutio. And Moxley does this, right? I'm a loner kind of guy, but yet I'm kind of caught in this situation where I'm going to have to do this fight. All right, I'm down to do the fight. You know, I know that these two guys don't really like me that I'm teaming with, but you know what? Screw it. If this is my way to get to Kenny Omega, I'm going to do it. By calling out the obvious, which is it feels like a cobbled together thing a little bit, he makes it okay. And again, you know, I wrote a piece about Moxley being compared to Piper. I really do see it, and I really do think it's very smart. Big fan of Jon Moxley, and that's something that has happened. That's something that he has made happen. It's really good. We go to commercial. We come back, we got Sting and Darby. They're talking. Taz is talking. Okay. Not much consequence there, but again, they're setting these things up. They're driving home the fact that it's a March 7th pay-per-view. They've changed that date, so they're trying to give you little hints here and there. And I think it's smart. They're putting up the bigger stuff for the March 7th pay-per-view, right? Though the Moxley match is for Beach Break. But they're getting it kind of out of the way so we can really hone in on this Beach Break thing by the end, because it's next Wednesday, right? Jericho and MJF against Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. It's a foregone conclusion match for sure, but boy, was it a great exhibition for Griff Garrison. Boy, did he look fantastic. Say what you want about Jericho, and God knows most everybody does. Boy, does he have an ability to be in the right place, right time, and really, really make others shine. Is that not the measure of a man in pro wrestling? Is that not the measure of a true star and in pro wrestling if you can help make others? And Jericho has certainly done that. Kudos, guys. JR does his best commentating job that he's done in a while, talking about Jericho's strikes. When JR picks out something that maybe others haven't talked about, it's golden. And when he says Jericho's strikes are better than they've ever been, it's smart. Instead of pointing things to the weakness, he points things to the strength. Oh, you know what? Jericho has changed his game, and these strikes are very effective, etc., etc. And Jericho, being no dummy himself, hits that Judas elbow, but then hits a lion salt on principle on Brian Pillman Jr. to make up for the snafu last week, and I think that's smart as well. Very smart match, very good outing for Jericho and MJF. We get a Pac promo. That's incredibly good. It's very, very, very good. Cool. Commercial. We come back. We got Shaq challenging Cody with an it is what it is. Then Cody's gonna, we see a bunch of clips. We see Jade, and then we have Red Velvet come out and basically put the exclamation point, I think, on this thing. So is it going to be Cody and Red Velvet against Jade and Shaq? That's what it seems like, but it seems like they're also hedging their bets and non-committed, and that's a problem. But this segment in and of itself, I guess, kind of worked, except for the fact that you never got the strong, definitive opinion that a match was happening when, where, and all that stuff. They gotta fix that kind of thing. They have to. Match number 3, Ryan Nemeth against Adam Page. Really good outing here. Really good look here. Adam Page looks every bit the star. And then this weird thing about Matt Hardy offering his dressing room. Now, some people would say that isn't going to work or that they don't quite get it. I do get it. And strangely, I'm watching the Hector Macho Camacho thing where he wins a fight and wins a title, but he's come back from his sort of personal demons thing. Not dissimilar to Adam Page, right? And then he goes like, I just hope people will continue to be my friend, and he's crying and holding on to this guy interviewing him. And I get that vibe off of this Adam Page thing and Matt Hardy sort of manipulating him. And they've very deftly done something very smart, which is they've gotten Matt Hardy out of the ring for the most part and slipped him into this different role. And Matt Hardy gets to do a little bit of exposition and talk about how the Elite have abandoned him. All of which is true, and I don't think Matt Hardy gets enough credit for what he's doing, which is he's making Private Party more relevant, and he's inserting himself into other stories. And he effectively shut the door on this Dark Order Adam Page thing. And just, again, Mercutio factor. That's going to be my word for this Dynamite. He points out the obvious. That thing with the Dark Order was really awkward. And by saying it, he's now put it to rest and they can move on. And again, it's very subtle stuff, but I think it's very smart. Commercial break. We come back. Dax Harwood against Jungle Boy. This is what you need. Okay, the handcuff thing with Luchasaurus, that is what it is. Tully Blanchard makes sure they do some smart stuff, like look like they're going to... You have to show the gimmick, right? And so at one point, they're trying to get in there to help, but Luchasaurus pulls them back. And then at another point, Luchasaurus is inspired to sort of get up, and they pull him back. I think that was great. This idea of we all care about the guys in the ring, but we're not going to let each other help out. Really good. At the end of the day, Jungle Boy wins with that snare trap. And again, I pointed out on Dark how they've been setting this up with Jungle Boy really leaning hard on this snare trap thing. And I said it really will pay off if they factor it in, and it factored in big, and it was great. Of course, Dax and Cash Wheeler and Tully Blanchard run wild. Every time Tully Blanchard jumps off of the ropes, I catch my breath and my chest tightens, but he always pulls it off. They do the spike pile driver on Luchasaurus. They beat him down. They cut the horns off his mask. I don't know who came up with that, but it says it's inspired. I thought that was really good. They go to cut Jungle Boy's hair, which is... and then Jungle Boy gets saved by SCU and others. Really good stuff. Marco stunned a little reckless with that chair. When he tossed it, and you got to be careful about that stuff, guys. Got to be careful. But a very good segment, a very good look for Jungle Boy, a very great continuation of the FTR against the Jurassic Express thing. And it's a feud that I think is doing wonders for all the guys, because FTR, there's really not a place for them in the tag title picture right now. They shouldn't be put there. And so this is a great spot where they can make each other and do some good stuff. We've got Britt versus Shanna after the break. So we go to commercial and we hear from Team Taz. Good, solid promo. Again, the work that Taz and those guys are doing, I just think it's really good. I think it's analogous to what Hurt Business does, that they're providing a glue that you didn't even know they were providing. Match number 5, Britt Baker against Shanna. It's a good look. It's a good thing. Britt Baker showing she can wrestle these longer matches. Shanna is fine. I think the best match that she had that I've seen was against Kylan King on Dark, but she has a good one here against Britt Baker. Shanna isn't really known well enough that you can do this thing, which they do in the match, which I don't think was that effective, of her going for supposed finishers and Britt Baker getting out of them. They didn't get the rise out of that because Shanna's just not known enough. That's just a simple fact. And so I would structure the match a little differently, but that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, Britt Baker wins with that lockjaw. And then as she continues to put the beat down on her and Reba, Thunder Rosa comes out to save him. And Thunder Rosa brings the fire. And I think it's a good lesson for performers how whatever you're given to do it at the highest level that you can. And you can kind of make something out of nothing. Moxley has done it many times where it's like he and Eddie Kingston through promos and through the intensity make up a lot of ground. It gets you out of your mind intellectually and just gets you into like, oh man, that feels like a big deal. And Thunder Rosa does that incredibly well. MJF and Sammy G have a moment, which I really like a lot. Again, they're advancing their thing through promo work, through their personalities, etc. Beach break, and then we got this women's tourney. They're just talking about all kinds of stuff. And then the main event is next. We go to commercial. We come back. Here we go, right? We get a promo, the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks. Kenny Omega comes out. He's a little hot at the Young Bucks, and Don Callis is like, no, my face. No, it's fine. But obviously Don Callis has put a wedge in there that is showing signs of growing. Good Brothers and Young Bucks against Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, Alex Reynolds. The Bucks really do the lion's share of the work here, really making the Dark Order look great. At the end of the day, though, Magic Killer, Meltzer Driver, and Stu Grayson, and they win. The Good Brothers and Young Bucks, that is. But and then Ray Phoenix comes out, levels the Young Bucks, getting beat down by the Good Brothers. Moxley comes out, really putting a hurting on the Good Brothers and doing the whole thing. Out comes Kenny Omega, and Moxley catches him and drops him. Great moment. Really great moment. But first, the Young Bucks cut this promo about, we got this tag team battle royal happening, and we've put ourselves into it. If we win, we can challenge anyone we want. And then they turn and they face the Good Brothers. Again, a couple of things get done in this last segment that are really good. And that might seem like too much, but no, it's the main event. It's justified. They're promoting future shows. All good. So a good solid outing by Dynamite, but there's still some cracks in that foundation. And we saw what happens when the cracks in the foundation don't get treated. They lead to shows like last week. So I really hope AEW addresses them. In any case, this has been Stephen Platt. I'm your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus Dynamite.